This is Claire Costello and I wanted to present the practices that I am giving in the talk on September 5th at the conference so that you could have a tool to train yourself with instead of just listening to or reading the materials. And I'm going to begin by teaching the autogenic relaxation technique. And again, this practice will give the patient an experience of relaxation while it's also training them to begin to look at their inner sensory experience, and will give them a flavor of what they can anticipate feeling when they do the practice themselves. And it's a way to engage them. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the practice itself. And you can use parts of this or add parts to it, but this is the basic beginning that I teach people. And first we prepare the environment to create a space where there'll be no interruptions, and the turning off the phone and keeping the environment clear of noise, and just so that you won't be disturbed. And you begin by telling yourself that there's nothing else that you need to be doing at this time. This is a time for relaxation and healing. And you find a comfortable chair to sit in. I prefer to do this sitting instead of lying down to keep one alert and awake while they're practicing relaxation. So that beginning. And you bring your awareness to your breath. And as you do so, you imagine breathing out clean and clear, fresh air. And you allow yourself to have some long and easy exhales and inhales. And you may support a practice of counting, say, to the count of 5 through the nose, inhaling and holding it a little bit, and then releasing that breath with the out-breath with the mouth. So counting to 5 in-breath, imagining clean and clear fresh air, and breathing out, exhaling any distractions or toxins or anything that you don't need right now. You can lay down any concerns or residue of the day to your left. You can pick it up when we're done. And giving a person a chance just to settle in, feeling the full support of the chair underneath you, and feeling the full support of the floor underneath your feet. And you're beginning to encourage the person to bring their awareness out of their thinking and into their body, down into the belly with their breath. And then there'll be a series of a few statements that we say to ourselves that then begin to cue ourselves that we're relaxing. So you begin by bringing your awareness to your right arm, saying to yourself, my right arm is heavy and relaxed. And you're not trying to feel your right arm being heavy, and there's no particular sensation at all that you're trying to make happen, but you're just beginning to notice any sensation in your body as you say that to yourself. That's good. And then you bring your awareness to your left arm, saying to yourself, my left arm is heavy and relaxed. Just noticing any sensation in the body as you say that to yourself. Maybe taking a nice long and easy breath again, and then allowing your breath to become more normal and natural, and then bringing your awareness to your right leg, saying to yourself, my right leg is heavy and relaxed. And you may say, you say that to yourself with the out-breath. And you feel the full support of that chair underneath your right thigh, and the full support of the floor underneath that right foot. And then bringing awareness to your left leg, saying my left leg is heavy and relaxed. Just checking in and seeing what kind of sensation there might be anywhere in the body as you say that to yourself. And over time and with practice, you'll begin to notice those sensations as little gifts of release that let you know that you're beginning to bring the relaxation process to yourself. So then you bring your awareness back to your right arm, and this time you say, my right arm is warm and relaxed. And again, not trying to make your right arm feel warm, but just noticing what happens as you say that to yourself. And these statements are ways of helping guide a patient into becoming aware of their bodily sensations, which is a key to helping them realize what kind of emotional response is happening in their body, even under stress. So these are teaching tools, while at the same time you're teaching relaxation, you're actually teaching other important skills as well. And then you bring your awareness to your left arm, saying to yourself, my left arm is warm and relaxed. Feeling what you might as you say that to yourself. And then bringing the awareness to the right leg, saying to yourself, my right leg is warm and relaxed. Again, just noticing if there's any quality of experience in the body as you say that. Giving yourself a chance to experience that, and then bringing your awareness to your left leg, saying my left leg is warm and relaxed. And this would be a time I'd encourage people to take a gentle measurement of the quality of their state of relaxation at this time, from 0 to 10, 0 being the least relaxed and 10 being the most relaxed. Where are they? And they can keep that number in their mind. And then they bring their awareness to their belly, saying to yourself, my belly is calm and warm and relaxed. And then bringing your awareness to your heartbeat. And sometimes people will put their thumb and their index finger together at this time with their hands comfortably on their lap. And they will say to themselves, my heartbeat is calm and regular. Again, just noticing what happens when we say that to ourselves. And then bringing your awareness to your breathing, saying to yourself, my breathing is calm and regular. Maybe even taking a nice long and easy breath at this time, exhaling fully, and again feeling the support of the floor and the chair underneath you. And then bringing your awareness to your mind and to your forehead and saying to yourself, my forehead is cool and relaxed. And then bringing your awareness to your mind and saying to yourself, my mind is clear and free. These set of statements, and with the time to focus out of one's thinking and into one's body, begin to form a foundation of relaxation practice to engage the relaxation response. It's here where then I invite a person to explore if there's anywhere else in their body where they might be feeling a little bit of tension or where they might be feeling it needs a little extra healing or some kind of attention, and to bring their awareness directly to that spot in their body. And imagine breathing in and breathing out through that area. Perhaps imagining it being cool or warm, depending on what that area needs. And just noting what begins to happen as that kind of tension is allowed to be with that part of the body. And then what I do often is to encourage a more of a imagery practice along with this relaxation practice that just invites the image of a warm light, like sunlight, or a gentle warm breeze that flows down all around the body, taking with it any residual tension or distraction or used energy that's no longer needed, and bringing in the imagery of that warm light or breeze flowing down around the head. And as it does, it relaxes the skull. And as it flows down the face, it softens the area around the eyes and the nose and the ears. And that light or breeze flows down and relaxes the jaw, allows the tongue and the mouth to become calm and relaxed. And this lighter breeze flows down the neck and around the shoulders, relaxing the shoulders as it flows down the arms, the forearms, the wrists, and out through the hands, and perhaps even allowing a sensation of tingling in the fingertips. And then this lighter breeze flows down the spine, relaxing the back and the rib cage. And you might even imagine that gentle breeze or light flowing down through the body, relaxing and healing the heart and the lungs, allowing a sense of spaciousness throughout the whole body, allowing more healing and relaxation in the internal organs, the kidneys, the pancreas, the spleen, down through the liver and down through the abdominal cavity and through the sex organs. And just relaxing, again, giving a sense of spaciousness throughout the entire body. As it flows down through the hips, this lighter breeze will flow down through the legs, down healing any areas in the knees and the back of the legs, down through the ankles, through the feet, and into the earth, where we can feel a sense of groundedness into the earth. And with that, again, there's that practice of, okay, now notice where you might feel on that scale of relaxation, 0 to 10. 0 being the least relaxed, 10 being the most relaxed. Where are you now? And in that practice, we went through that fairly quickly, and you can slow it down at any point in time. But that was about 10 to 15 minutes. And oftentimes people will have a different quality of sensation and experience. We've just engaged the parasympathetic nervous system response to counteract the stress response in our body for the next 24 hours. It's a valuable tool that our patients can practice when they notice some tension or stress, or when they're taking a 10, 15-minute break from work, or if they find themselves waking up and needing to have a practice to help them get back to sleep. It's a great practice because it gives the mind something to do, which is to relax the body. And all those tools then help us feel more self-efficacious in our own contribution to helping ourselves with heart disease. So that's the first practice. I'd like to start with that one first because it gives a very simple practice and gives the patient an experience. And then they go, oh, that's what I'm shooting for when I'm trying to find a way to relax myself. Once I've had them experience that practice, then I'll build on that to include the others. So that particular practice you can do, I say, in 10 and 20 minutes. You don't want to rush it at first. It becomes quicker and easier, and we respond more quickly with relaxation with practice. This is one of the practices that Herbert Benson recommends in his relaxation response book. I found it to be really effective with my cardiac patients. Now we'll move to a simple breathing technique, and it usually takes about 10 minutes to teach this practice. And generally, I'm sure you all know ways in which you teach your patients diaphragmatic breathing, and this is like that. We all just need to find the tools that flow easily from us, that we practice ourselves, that we know can be effective with a variety of kind of people, and it helps us bring our awareness to taking care of our own bodies. But this one particular breathing technique is a technique taught by HeartMath, which is an organization in Santa Cruz, California that's done a lot of research on heart rate variability and coherence. And I like it because it references the heart, and that can be really helpful for our heart patients to have it make sense to them. And so it's basically teaching them diaphragmatic breathing. I enjoy teaching people to, when they're first learning this, they have one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly, because it's soothing, and it also helps them feel the difference between shallow breathing and just having their chest rise, and diaphragmatic breathing, which their belly will also rise. And so you teach having one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly, and then again breathing in through the nose, allowing the belly to extend, and then breathing through the mouth, allowing the belly to come in. And to do several breaths like that, and teaching it in whatever form appeals to you. And then you bring one's awareness right to the heart area. So you imagine your awareness just focusing on the heart and breathing directly into and out of the heart. So again, it's teaching the patient how to have a sensory awareness of their body and of the heart, which they're trying to heal and which they're trying to establish a better, more trusting rapport with since their heart event. So you bring their awareness to the heart, and they already have an idea about breathing into and out of a particular area of the body from the previous practice. And now you're directing them to imagine breathing directly into and out of the heart with some kind attention. So in a non-judgmental, neutral, and caring attitude, breathing directly into and out of their heart. And you can do that with them for a couple of minutes just to have their own experience. And then you imagine them, you invite them to imagine bringing in a remembered experience of joy, of, a life lived well, of feeling healthy, feeling good, feeling engaged, feeling present. It might be something in relation to another, or it might be just simply a beautiful experience in nature, or a calm and safe experience. But it's a remembered one. It's one they have lived, not one they imagine or one they hope for, but one they have lived. So it's an experience of remembered wellness, remembered fullness, full, strong, healthy, heartfelt experience. And you have them imagine themselves in that experience, being in that experience, and almost like absorbing it through their body on a cellular level. This practice feels good, but it's also laying the groundwork for developing new neuronal networks in their body of this lived experience. Our new neuroscience is teaching us that as we do this type of recollection and allow it to soak in, that we're actually building new neuronal patterns in the body. And I say that this is akin to the fact that when we exercise, we literally build new collateral arteries. This is the neurological equivalent. We're building a new neurological pathway in our body as we, in a positive, life-affirming way, which we know our patients need because they tend to have some depression, some anxiety. They definitely need some help with their stress response, some anger. This is a counterbalance, and we're actually helping them build the foundational network by doing these simple practices. So they're imagining this well-lived moment and feeling it and absorbing it into their body. And you'll allow that for a minute or two. And you can leave it at that, or when you're further along in your teaching with them about the psychosocial aspects of heart disease, and we're now addressing the issues more specifically about stress or difficult interactions and how we want to help ameliorate some of those experiences, then an additional practice that you can do here is to add, after they've done the breath work and after they've experienced the lovely remembered experience, you can invite them to imagine a difficult situation that they're dealing with now, something that's causing them some consternation or they're struggling with a little bit. And you have them imagine that situation right there at the level of their heart now, too. So they've had that positive experience. Now they're in that field, bringing in an image for the more difficult experience that they're struggling with. And you invite them to ask themselves, as they bring that difficult situation into this field, how is their perspective changed? Can they see things a little differently? Is there an opening from which to understand that situation as it's being held in the space of that experience? And you just let that be and let them have an inner experience of that for a minute or so. Again, breathing, encouraging them to breathe long and easy breaths, or naturally. They may still have their hand on their heart or their hand on their belly. And then to bring that practice to a close, you might say that. As we bring this practice to a close, you let that image fade, and you bring your awareness back to your body and back to this room, and you acknowledge yourself for having taken this time to experience a relaxation practice and to bring a healing image to mind and to work on something that you're wanting to understand better, and just gently bringing themselves back to this time of day and back to their present moment. I'll complete how to bring someone back out of that practice when we're at the end of this. So now we'll go ahead and move to the third practice. And as I mentioned in the talk that you'll hear, this practice comes from someone who worked in one of my groups for many years, and he took the work that was presented and the practices that we've done and integrated several things and came up with this simple practice. And his name is Vince, and he was an infectious disease specialist who had to stop work after his second heart attack in his late 40s. And he had to really learn about what the stress response was, and in order to give it the credence it had in his life. So his practice of this is a wonderful contribution. And it's I'll just teach it. So again, you'd want to enter this practice first by encouraging someone to say to themselves, this is a time for my practice. He likes to do this before he goes to sleep. And it takes about 10 minutes. And it is something you could use any time of day where you, again, prepare the environment so you're not disturbed, and you sit or lay down, and you have your feet flat on the floor and your hands resting on your legs, or if you're lying down, you're comfortable. And he does several long and easy breaths to let his body know he's moving into the relaxation response. And he begins, there's kind of the number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images, 5 breaths, and 5 ways of working with this. So the first, he'll take in a breath, and he'll use the number 1 and the word opening. And we can work with either literal or symbolic images, but in his own mind's eye, he's working with opening of the blood vessel walls for easy flow of blood. And in his mind's eye, what he sees is a river in Montana, which is now where he lives, this open river. And so he's both visualizing an easy stream of water, and he's also visualizing the blood vessels in his body being open. And so with that number 1, he's breathing in 1, and as he's breathing out, he's imagining the flowing, open river. And whatever other images come to mind when he's thinking of opening. And then the second practice, is he breathes in, says the number 2, and it's the word flowing. So he's seeing blood flowing easily through the bloodstream, easily through the blood vessel wall. He's seeing the glistening of the rocks in the flow of the water. He's feeling the easy pace, the just right amount of pace of the water flowing through the river or the blood flowing through the blood vessel wall. And he stays with that image for several breaths. And then, when he's ready, he says the number 3, and the word is healing. And he imagines that river clear and glistening and flowing and beautiful and shining. You see right through it. And then he's imagining the blood vessel wall also clearing of any inflammation, the endothelial cells being beautifully healed, and any area in the blood vessel wall being cleared, cleaned, and healed. The plaque is all able to be cleared. The cells are cleared out, so it's all glistening, pink, beautiful inner blood vessel wall, and the blood is flowing easily through. Staying with that image for a minute or so, and then the number 4. Number 4 is strengthening. So the image he has with this, and anyone can have their own images, but for heart health, his image is the heart muscle strengthening, pumping cardiac output in perfect balance, all areas of the heart pumping in just the right amount, strengthening of the heart muscle, strengthening of the ventricles, being able to imagine whatever image would represent that for each one of us. We can use what is an image of strengthening, bringing that in and imagining that being part of your heart health. And then the final is number 5, and the image and the quality is accepting. And this is an image of accepting what is, being responsive and also being accepting. He also has the image there of embracing something that's been difficult, but being able to accept that with a warmth, with a kindness, with a way of letting go into what is, with no expectation of outcome, but being able to be present moment to moment with an abiding sense of acceptance. So again, that's the number 1 for opening, with an image of open. Number 2 being flowing, imagery of flowing. 3 with healing, image for healing. 4 being strengthening. And 5 being accepting. Very powerful practice. In my cardiac groups now, when I ask people at the end of our group process, which of the practices would you like to practice today, invariably they say, oh, include Vince's. Include Vince's, we really like that one. And it just helps people to know that, and he's with permission given me the ability to teach this, to use his name and to use his information, because whatever he can do to be helpful. He wants to be, that he came up with this himself from his own practice, and his heart event was 20 years ago, and he is doing fantastic. So he is a poster person for the reversal of heart disease. So that was practice number 3. The fourth is kind of a natural teaching. It's less of an imagery practice or relaxation practice, but it's central to keep in mind and work with people on. One of the things that's really important in all of these practices is that we're really teaching a patient how to have kind attention towards themselves, which means an attitude of non-judgment or definitely diminished criticality. And one of the things that, as we teach people how to develop habits of self-care and habits of taking care of themselves, is we have to become more conscious about how we actually are relating to ourselves. And I term this fourth component in a relaxation practice teaching of my cardiac patients as looking at our self-talk. And so this is, several weeks into doing psychosocial training, we might encourage our patients to just take a look at what we say to ourselves when we're under stress about ourselves or about someone else. If we get mad at the driver that just cut us off, what do we say? Do we become critical of ourselves? Do we become critical of each other? What begins to happen? And we want to begin to keep track of that. We've taken a look at our self-critic or our self-judger or our way we easily get frustrated with ourselves or tell ourselves we're stupid, we shouldn't have done that. And we want to bring a person's awareness to the fact that we need to begin to relate to ourselves like we would relate to a good friend of ours, or at least relate to our pet. We want to notice the language, and we want to course correct if we can. And it's really eye-opening that when we sometimes begin to teach ourselves how to relax, we become a little more conscious of the negative chatter going on in there. And so being able to interrupt that way of being with ourselves can tremendously diminish the next level of stress that we have. Because it's one thing if we get stressed because we're late. It's another to tell ourselves we're awful or we're going to get in so much trouble or everybody's going to hate us on top of that. And it's that layer we're trying to get people to get a little bit more aware of, because they can do something about that. They may or may not be able to do something about being late because of some traffic thing, but they can reduce the continued impact of the fear or the anger or the frustration that happens of what we tell ourselves about ourselves or what's going to happen. And so bringing some practices to mind about how to engage that self-talk can be helpful. And sometimes just introducing the practice of having some kind of tension with oneself without a particular outcome or expectation, but of kind of a noticing without judgment, and the quality of curiosity. Sometimes we can teach a patient that instead of saying that critically to yourself, is there a way you can say it with curiosity? So instead of saying, why did I do that stupid thing? Maybe it could be like, that's interesting. What was that all about? I want to know what made that happen that way, with more of a kind attention. So we'll talk more about this a little bit when I'm presenting, but I wanted to introduce that as a practice itself, is being able to bring attention to her self-talk, and the practice of maybe tracking it for a week or two, and then bringing that into the group again, talking a little bit about it with each other, and then looking at what is a way I could actually say that to myself without being so judgmental and having more curiosity. So now we'll move to the final practice, which is one that kind of follows on the coattails of that, which is the development of self-compassion. And what I mean by that, too, is putting oneself in the equation, how to develop a sense of empathy, and being able to bring an awareness to our cardiac patients that their own relationship with their own body is as important a relationship as they have with their spouse or their pet or their colleagues or their children, that we're trying to build a sense of rapport with the body. And how do we do that without feeling like we're being too much oriented to the self, or taking up too much of the space. And so with every relaxation practice, at the end of each practice, we'll have a time to just give ourselves some genuine self-acknowledgement for taking that time or that practice. But in the whole new literature of mindfulness, we're learning and we're doing a lot more research on what practices actually engage the brain and diminish the stress response and bring a sense of well-being and work with the positive emotions that can become self-healing. And one of the practices that's coming into the limelight these days, which I have found to be very helpful with cardiac patients, is the loving-kindness meditation practice. And so I begin to teach this as self-compassion or self-empathy, of putting oneself into the equation. And it goes along with heart health in that we know that social support and having social relations and having an attitude of openness can really help ameliorate our stress response. So we want to engage in those practices, and so we teach it. And we can teach it in a simple way with the loving-kindness meditation. And I particularly like the way Jack Kornfield teaches this as a practice. It's very difficult for most of us to, wish our own self well. And so a way to begin this practice is to actually imagine wishing someone that we love well, and then imagine that person looking at us and wishing us well. And then we can turn to ourselves and wish our own selves well. And so that's what I'll teach in this particular practice. So again, what we would do is have this be at the end of any of the relaxation practices that we've just done, or it could be in itself. And so if it's in itself, then you'd start again with having the person get comfortable in their chair and uncrossing their legs and having their hands, uncrossed and relaxed, and maybe their eyes closed or their eyes looking down, and then having them do a couple nice long and easy breaths and getting in a relaxed state, and then begin by bringing their attention to their heart, breathing directly into and out of their heart, and then telling themselves that this would be, a few minutes for relaxation and calm, to practice heart health, and then have them bring to mind someone that they love and care for a lot. And it could be a person who's currently in their life, or it could be an ancestor, or it could be a being. It could be a pet. It could be anything that they love, a being that they love, and that they bring that person to mind. And then they work with the, say, three statements of practice that they get familiar with, and they can come up with their own words and their own language. But in terms of for teaching, you may say they see that person in front of them, and they look to them and offer, a blessing, a wellness blessing, and they say, "May you be safe." And take a moment with that. May you be healthy. May you have ease of well-being. And you imagine that person receiving that from you. Again, they can come up with their own words, their own language. And then you would let that image fade, and you would imagine that person that you know loves you. It might be the same person, or it might be someone else. And you imagine a person who you know, or a being you know, loves you, and you imagine them looking at you. And you imagine them saying to you, "May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you have ease of well-being." And you take that in, and you soak that in, and you feel that in the kindness of their eyes. And then the quality of love and experience that's felt. And you turn and imagine yourself, looking at yourself. And you say, "May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you have ease of well-being." And you take that in and soak that in, and notice any quality of experience that's similar or different, or from taking it in to oneself. And then you work with that at the end of a relaxation session, after you've had that experience. And then from that experience, you can extend that out. One of the practices I'll do is I'll say, imagine a pink light, or that quality of feeling of that loving kindness or self-empathy, that feeling in your own heart. And imagine that quality of feeling moving from your heart to the heart of the person on your right, and all the way around the circle, or all the way around the room. And then imagining that quality or experience coming from your heart to the heart of the person on the left, and then all the way around the circle and all the way back to yourself. And you can extend that out to, may anyone who's not in the group at this time have that experience, or may all people who need an extra kind attention, may they all feel healthy and safe and have ease of well-being, or just a sense of kind attention. And then you can bring people's awareness back to this room, letting all that go, acknowledging their practice, back to this room, back to this time of day, back to this season of the year, and maybe counting back from 5, where they feel awake and alert and refreshed. 5, 4, feeling calm and able to feel the quality of their practice. 3, feeling refreshed and like moving their toes and fingers a bit. And 2, feeling relaxed and awake and ready to gently open their eyes. And be present to this moment. And then they kind of look at each other, and then you can offer an opportunity for people to share anything about what they might have just experienced and having done the relaxation practice, and invite some brief conversation. It's also fine if people don't want to talk, but it can be helpful to just offer that and then bring the group to a close. So those are the 5 practices we'll be briefly going over in the presentation, and hopefully this language will give you a chance to practice and come up with your own words and own way of doing it. But I think the foundational practice of first giving an experience of the relaxation practice, I really like the Autogenic practice. It's easy to use. Then some breath work, and then some imagery, and then some work with the heart health imagery, and then the self-talk, and then the loving kindness. That series is a good foundational practice to begin integrating into your cardiac rehab through several group sessions that you can then bill for under the new Medicare codes and get paid for. And it will begin to help your patients engage that relaxation response, and then they'll be able to use those skills when they're stressed, as well as use those skills just to have a regular daily practice. And then that ultimately will help them evolve a different emotional response set to the stress in their lives, which we all have and we all need to do it. So it's something like that. So hopefully that will be helpful. And that is a conclusion. Thank you for listening.